Look What I Made, a new book by Jon Jorgenson. Written, designed, read, and distributed by the author. Look what I made. This is the mantra of the child as she arrives home with her art project. She shows her painting to every person in her family with no fear of criticism or trolling. She shares her talents generously and is always willing to tell the story of how she made what she made. She is only 5, but she is an artist. We have so much to learn from her. Stand while you have the chance. Whenever I'm waiting to board a flight, I never sit at my gate. I stand and look out the window, I walk around the terminal, I pace back and forth in front of the bookshelves at Hudson News. No matter how tired I am or how badly I want to, I do not sit at the gate. I don't do this because I'm antsy and afraid to fly. I do this because I know I'm about to get on a plane where I will be forced to sit down for 2, 3, 4, or more hours. There will never be a shortage of people asking you to sit down. You might as well stand up while you have the chance. What have you made? Not what have you regurgitated, not what rules have you followed, not how many average products have you sold to average people. What have you made? What project have you started? What idea have you given birth to? What can you point to and say, this is mine, I made it, and now I want you to enjoy it? Notice, make, share. Notice. Simultaneously seeing things as they actually are and also as they could be. Make. Do the work. Create your art. However you express what you've just noticed. Share. Look what I made. Notice. We're not so happy when something catches our eye. We thrash and squirm like a sea bass until we get our eye back. We can't stand our curiosity being piqued. We immediately turn down the volume for fear of adding actual dynamics to our life's orchestra. We simply can't have these distractions. We have to get to work, hit the gym, or rush to catch the next train. We have so many things to do. The problem is, the more things you have to do, the less stuff you have time to make. Stop. Dare to notice. Allow your eye to be caught and even reeled in. Surrender to the uncertainty of what could be. Having a curiosity that peaks and valleys and flows and everywhere in between, composing a symphony of possibility. Only from this place can we begin to simultaneously see things as they are and also as they could be. Make. To follow, to brainstorm, to plan, to manage, to-do list, to play it safe, to copy, to trace. This is not making. To make is to lead, to create, to work, to act, to explore, to risk, to engage with the uncomfortable action of crafting something personal and on purpose. Share. When you were a child, one of the first values you learned was share your toys. Share with your brother. Sharing is caring. When you were a child, you no doubt had some resistance to this principle. We're scared to share because something inside us equates sharing with losing. It's true. If I share my toy, then the toy is no longer mine. That doesn't mean that it's solely theirs, though. Sharing actually means that what's being shared is now ours. There is a deeper, more communal aspect to sharing that says, this was mine, but I want you to have it too. Let's use it together. Sharing does not mean giving it away for free. Free is for a cheap product. A free sample is really just a snack on the way to the thing you're actually interested in buying. Free is worth as much as it costs. Nothing. Sharing implies a gift. A gift has real value, both for the giver and the receiver. And we all know that the best gifts are ones that can be used together. This is what happens when we generously share what we have made. The Little Maker Revolution. Helen does daily doodles on Instagram. She notices a phrase or quote that inspires her, she makes a doodle of it, and she shares it with her followers. And they love it. Corey designs t-shirts that he gives away to different YouTubers to wear on their channel. Not only is this good for his business, it's also generous, and it establishes relationships with other makers. Grace is an actress who leads spin classes in between auditions. She rises before the sun most days to show up and lead people to improving their health, and have fun while doing it. Nick just quit his job as a designer for an industrialized machine. Now, he is going full-time on starting his company, which educates artists on how to turn their passion into a business. He's starting with his wife Molly. She's a makeup designer who is helping her clients discover that the way their mothers taught them to do makeup is not the only way, and she's helping them become more confident along the way. Rabbit draws comics. They're silly, inside jokes that can only be understood by his two co-workers, who are his only audience. These comics break up the monotony of the workday for two lucky people, though, and that is valuable. All these folks are participants in the Little Maker Revolution that is overtaking our culture. None of them have a gigantic audience of millions. They run small shops, publish to small sites, and lead small gatherings. The size is irrelevant, though. What's important is that they are committed to making and sharing their art on a regular basis. Will you join this revolution? What will you make? Worth. A canvas and a paintbrush aren't worth very much to me. Then again, a video camera and a Bible aren't worth very much to Pablo Picasso. And none of these things are worth very much to Albert Einstein, but a physics lab certainly is. The instrument only has as much value as the musician playing it. The job of the artist is to find the instrument, the platform, the arena that has worth to him. Find it, use it to create something, then share it relentlessly with the world. Valuable. Money, power, profit, permission, celebrity, mass market, access to information. These things still have some value, and they probably always will, but not nearly as much as they used to. What's more valuable today? Connection is valuable. Trust is valuable. Hope is valuable. Taking initiative, taking risk, and taking your turn are valuable. The vision to notice, the willingness to make, and the generosity to share our art. Comfortable with the uncomfortable. Being an artist means getting comfortable with those uncomfortable words, "Look what I made." You were comfortable saying these when you were 5, so maybe it's time to get re-comfortable with the uncomfortable. Weeds grow on their own. What if I don't want to make things? That's fine. But remember that you are signing up for a life among the weeds, always reacting, never starting, constantly managing, no time to lead. We've all been given soil. We can choose not to plant anything, but weeds will grow on their own. Restoring order. 2, as in too much. Too tired, too busy, too young, too scared. But, as in not enough. I can, but I'm smart, but I'm creative, but I think, but this is backwards. Let's restore order. But, as in not enough. I'm tired, but I'll still work. I'm busy, but I will make the time if it's important enough. I'm young, but I'm ready to learn. I'm scared, but I would never let that stop me. 2, as in as well. I'm smart, too. I'm creative, too. I think, too. I can make things, too. Show and tell. The basis of show and tell is look what I made. Look what I brought. Look what I found. Look what I'm contributing. Look what I'm sharing. The internet is show and tell on steroids. But most of us are hiding. Most of us would rather sit in the back of the class and judge what everyone else is sharing. We do this to avoid getting picked, because we're ashamed of what we might share. Allow me to propose some new classroom rules. Either show and tell, or shut your mouth. Bullies. Fair warning. By choosing to be a maker, you automatically choose to be the small kid on the playground for a while. You will be an easy target for bullies. They will find you and try to intimidate you with their oversized hoodies and unoriginal insults. Not to worry, though. Their insults are unoriginal because they've forgotten how to make or even think for themselves. And the big hoodies simply serve as a place to hide their fear. Trust me, the bullies are just as scared as you, and less than half as strong. Don't let them ruin your recess. The real rules of high school. Don't run in the halls. Be on time to class. Use complete sentences. Join activities. Work hard. Get into a good school. These may be the written rules, but these are not the real rules. The real rules never show that you're trying or that you care. Apathy, and using the phrase whatever as often as possible, is a sign of how cool you are. Do whatever it takes to fit in. Being invisible is far better than being weird. Learn how to party, get good at sex, and learn what drugs you like. These are the skills you will need to succeed in college. And don't fool yourself. These rules only intensify when we graduate to the real world, unless we join the little makers and begin to write our own. Don't talk while the teacher is talking. Well, the teacher isn't talking anymore. Many of us, though, are still waiting for her instructions, and as a result, we're living our lives in utter silence. It's your turn to talk. I don't know what to make. Make little stuff. Make big stuff. Make pretty stuff. Make ugly stuff. Make round stuff, square stuff, simple stuff, complex stuff, zombie stuff, muffin stuff, whatever it is, make your stuff. And if you don't know what your stuff is, try a bunch of different stuff. Eventually, something will stick. How to start. Do it. Right now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't think. Definitely don't overthink. Stop worrying about where it's going. Just begin moving. Don't worry if you have enough intelligence, enough talent, enough influence, enough followers, enough time, enough training, enough stamina. No great adventurer ever had enough for the journey. If they'd had enough, then their journey wouldn't have been much of an adventure. Avoid descriptive words for a while. Good, bad, successful, smart, dumb, stupid, foolish. This is like judging someone before we get to know them. Why do we do that? Don't run around telling everyone what you've started. Don't spend months and months planning. Both of these things are easily abused and used as excuses for getting out of the actual work of starting. Don't believe the lie that if you've started, you have to finish. Quitting smart is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. How to start? Stop reading books about how to start. Get to work. Work versus job. At least once a day at my job, I'll be asked by a coworker what I did during the day. I work at night. And at least once a day, I respond by telling them that I spent my day doing some work. And at least once a day, said coworker will look at me like I have a mutant dwarf coming out of my nose. The maker knows something that the employee doesn't yet understand. That there is such a thing as work that is not your job. This work is work, while at the same time, it is also not work. Seth Godin calls this work/not work, which is really just another way of saying art. At a job, we color in the lines. When we do work, we draw our own picture. Skills versus art. Playing the piano. GarageBand can do that too, and it follows tempo perfectly. Sewing a garment. There's a factory for that where it can be done for less money. Committing every president's birthday to memory. No thanks. I think I'll save time and Google it. Creating something out of nothing. Trying something that's never been done before. Taking a risk. Actually, there's not an app for that. In our ever-increasing technological world, more and more skills are being replicated and even improved by machines with each passing day. It's clear, then, that we must stop equating having skills with being an artist. These are not the same thing. The prodigy who is born with the inherent ability to draw has a long road to travel on her way to becoming an artist. She must first learn to do something that Microsoft Paint can't do. Notice, make, share. Trick or treat. Are you trying to trick people to click your link, watch your video, like your page? Are you tricking them to pump air into your ego? Or are you treating them to something you carefully, personally crafted? Something you believe in? Something you think will make them better? Do things you're not supposed to. Can a lawyer write a novel? John Grisham sure thought so. Can a prisoner be a symbol for freedom and peace? Nelson Mandela found a way. Can a college or even high school dropout start a business? Well, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Ellen DeGeneres, Ralph Lauren, Henry Ford, Wolfgang Puck, and Oprah all seem to do okay. Supposed to is an ill-fitting garment that society is constantly trying to squeeze us into. Makers do away with supposed to. Makers wear and do what they want, what they're not supposed to. Your Twitter feed. Here's a question for you. When was the last time your Twitter feed, Facebook wall, or text thread was filled with little, generous stuff you've made, rather than the latest internet meme or BuzzFeed personality quiz? The internet, and social media in particular, has made it easier to share than ever before. The question isn't, are you able to share? The question is, what are you sharing? And even better yet, what value does it bring? Electives. Art, photography, coding, home ec, auto shop, improv, world literature, psychology, yoga, debate team. Some of these, probably and unfortunately not very many, were offered as elective courses at your high school. Electives give students the opportunity to explore areas outside the core curriculum. When we leave school and graduate to the real world, though, most of us will never elect to do any of these activities ever again. Artists of the Little Maker Revolution have chosen their electives and continue to educate themselves. Join the anime club. In school, those who shined in the core subjects or on the football field were the ones who got the most attention, funding, and clout. If you were passionate about anime comics, you were pretty much a loner, unless you were lucky enough to go to one of the very few schools that actually had a club for those interested in the Japanese art form. Even if your school had a club, though, you were very lucky if more than 3 people showed up to a meeting. For many reasons, school had a limited number of clubs for a limited number of interests. Now, though, the new economy and online culture provides us with a club for every interest you could possibly think of. The membership of these clubs is not limited to a school district. These clubs have members from all over the world, and if you share their passion, these clubs are eager for your membership. They're eager for your leadership. They can't wait for you to share your work within them. A great proverb on sharing. The world of the generous gets larger and larger. The world of the stingy gets smaller and smaller. Proverbs chapter 11, verses 24 through 26. We think that by keeping it for ourselves, we are accumulating more. This is true, but also not true. Having an entire Thanksgiving dinner all to ourselves may look appetizing and even feel good for a moment. Soon, though, we realize that we could never consume all this food, and most of it is going to go to waste. In the end, we are left stuffed, sick, and utterly lonely. Share. What defines a maker? Contrary to the name, the maker is not actually defined by what she makes. Her making is always done with the intention of eventually sharing what she has made. Other than the joy of the creative process, the whole point of her making is to share. To share is her end game. Therefore, the maker cannot be defined by the action of making, but by the generosity of sharing. What if they reject the gift? What if the crowd doesn't want what I'm sharing? What if they don't want to be my audience? Does this mean that I'm not meant to be a maker? Of course not. It just means that what I've made is not for them. When your gift is rejected, keep sharing. Eventually, the gift will find its receiver. Who is listening? Who do I share with? Is it better to have an audience of 1 or 1,000 or 100 million? Is bigger better, or should I focus only on a niche of a niche of a niche? Stop. This is a case where size really doesn't matter. I'm not just saying that to make you feel better. It's true. The size of your following doesn't matter. On the other hand, the generosity of sharing valuable personal work, that matters immensely. Give me 5 minutes. Growing up, I worked my summer job counseling at a theater camp. The daily schedule at camp was pretty meticulous. However, throw in 120 3rd through 5th graders and you're begging to get off track. In my early years as a counselor, I was inexperienced, not the best teacher, and maybe even a bit irresponsible. However, I was often called on to play the part of the funny guy. Part of this role is to buy time, to essentially distract the campers while the counselors and leadership figured out what to do next. It was not uncommon for Sarah, our lead counselor, to tap me on the shoulder, thrust a mic into my hand, and say, "Give me 5 minutes." What Sarah did to me in those moments is essentially what the internet has done to all of us. Every day, we all find that a mic has been thrust into our hands, and the world is waiting to listen. What do we do in this moment? Tell jokes, play a game, have a conversation. We could use this opportunity to simply fill the uncomfortable silence with white noise. Or we could use it to teach something, to learn something, to make something, to share something. The question for the little maker: what are you going to do when you find there's a mic in your hand? The self-sustaining creative process. Create a manifesto, a portfolio, a blog, an open mic night. Having a platform on which to make and share helps you to become a better noticer, a better thinker, which, in turn, helps you make more art and better art, which you can share again. And the engine continues to feed itself. Why art is scarce. Why can't I have these things? Why can't I just demand for them? She was talking about the ability to make art. It was a valid question. Why can't we just be given the ability to notice? Why can't we buy the skills needed to make? Why can't we just inherit people to share with? Well, honestly, some people can, but I'm not sure those people are making art. Art is valuable because art is scarce. Art is scarce because art requires work. If I could just demand skills and artistic ability with no work required, then anybody could. Then art would cease to be scarce, and it would cease to be valuable. Stealing ideas. I'm not sharing. I don't want someone to steal my ideas. A true maker laughs in the face of this fear. She is so committed to the art of making and the making of art that she has no fear of idea theft. Making is her daily practice. She has plenty to share. Her art, just like her passion, may be scarce/rare to others who haven't made the decision to make. This is what makes it so valuable. But at the same time, the river of inspiration flows abundantly within her. She is an abundance of scarcity. Around the dinner table. What did you learn today? Growing up, The dinner table was constantly holding us accountable. It was the educational equivalent of a confession booth, but without the penance and guilt. When Mom and Dad or Grandma and Grandpa asked you this question, you were expected to have an answer every day. And you did, at least for your first few years of school. The 6-year-old student speaks of new information and lessons and stories and adventures she encountered in the classroom that day. As she grows older and taller, though, her answers will inevitably become shorter and shorter until her response is simply, "Nothing really. What would you have to share around the dinner table today? Anything at all?" If I asked you, what did you learn, make, notice, create, share today? Would you have a new response every day? A blog is the adult version of a dinner table conversation. It doesn't have to be a blog like my blog, or even a blog that you write on. You can share photos, music, lesson plans, whatever your art is. Having the platform, though, and making the commitment to share consistently holds us accountable to be able to answer the question when the world asks, "What did you learn today?" Are we tired? Or are we just bored? It's on you now. Growing up, teachers assigned homework and parents signed us up for sports and activities. Why? Because it was good for us. It was good to learn, to be active, to give our intellectual, physical, and creative muscles a good workout. In the adult world, Mom doesn't sign us up for things anymore. And we have a word for those who still do homework. We call them workaholics. In the adult world, no one is making sure you continue to remain fit in all areas of your life. In the adult world, it's on you now. I'm not saying you should become a workaholic, nor am I advocating you sign yourself up to be the oldest member of the youth soccer team, even though I'm sure you'd be an all-star. Perhaps instead, your homework could be to paint, or write, or sing, or knit just a little bit every day, and share it with the community. Perhaps instead, you could coach the team, thus developing your leadership and influence muscles. There comes a point, slowly between the ages of 20 and 40, when our bodies stop developing and start decaying. This is biology. This is fact. It happens to everyone's body. And it's going to happen to yours. It doesn't have to happen to your mind, though. But it's on you now. Ask a better question. A few weeks ago, while I was speaking at a college, Nick asked me the following question. How do you know so much about the Bible? Bad question. I'm not saying Nick is bad or not smart or anything about Nick as a person. I love Nick. I don't love his question. I want to say something here. First of all, I am not a theologian. There are hundreds, probably thousands of scholars who know more about the Bible than I do. I learn what I can, and I'm hungry to learn more, but I am absolutely a novice when it comes to the Bible. Back to the point. How does someone know so much about anything? The truth is, in today's world, having knowledge doesn't make us wise or special or creative. Any child, anywhere in the world, can gain just as much knowledge about the Bible, physics, or photography as the top theologians, scientists, and photographers in the industry. All he needs is an internet connection and a desire to learn. Even though there are many people in the world who still do not have access to the internet, the number is far less than even 5 years ago, and decreasing daily. Information is quickly becoming a commodity. In the age of the internet, having knowledge no longer makes you smart. It makes you privileged. What you choose to do with that privilege is what makes you smart, wise, and creative. What are you choosing to do with your knowledge? How did you decide what to do with your knowledge? Now those are better questions. Why this book is the way it is. This book is probably unlike most other books you've read, or listened to, or watched. In fact, I hesitated for a long time on whether to even call it a book or not. It certainly isn't a book in the traditional sense, nor is it an audiobook or a movie. I decided on book because multimedia, multi-sense engaging piece of work doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. So why is this book so different? I don't know if you've noticed, but the world of books, and specifically publishing, is changing. Changing is actually an understatement. I believe this industry is facing its largest disruption since the invention of Gutenberg's printing press. The book industry is not unique in this sense. Thank you, Internet. Really, thank you. In response to noticing this change, I made this book. Using my unique set of skills, I crafted something that I hope is new and different, but most importantly, I hope it's engaging, informative, and challenging. In response to noticing a change, I made this book, and now I'm sharing it with you. If it turns out that it's not for you, that's fine. If it is, I hope you'll turn around and share it with someone else. Seth Godin is a genius. I believe the above title to be a true statement, but I also believe it would be wrong to say Seth Godin is a genius, so he blogs every day. It's probably more accurate, and I think Seth would agree, to say Seth Godin is a genius because he blogs every day. Malcolm Gladwell, in his book Outliers, makes a strong case for why Asian students are so good at math. We assume that something in their genes has given them some sort of natural genius. But Gladwell explains that it is actually because Asian students, mainly due to their cultural upbringing, are willing to work on a problem longer than most others. They don't do math because they're good at it. They are good at math because they are committed to doing it. I believe the same is true for Seth. The process of writing a blog post and repeating it over 5,000 times has given Seth the opportunity to develop his thinking to the point of genius. We all have the opportunity to do this. Unfortunately, very few of us do. If you haven't read any of Seth's work, or don't know who he is, do yourself a favor and Google him. You will find that many of the ideas in this book have been inspired, borrowed, or even shamelessly stolen from him. I don't think Seth would mind my thievery. In fact, when reading his last book, I found him encouraging it. Your recombination, your generous reshuffling of what we already have, is the first step on the way to producing work that matters to us. Steal, give credit, and ship. Well, Seth, I have stolen, and here is my credit to you. This book, as well as countless other more influential creative projects, would not exist without the generosity of your crazy brain. This project is wholeheartedly dedicated to you. For teaching us to make a ruckus. Thank you, Seth. A review of the process. Notice, make, share. Look what I made. Your turn. One last thing. This is what we write a book for: to reach people and to spread ideas. Ryan Holiday. That is why I wrote this book. If it has reached you, I hope you will help spread its ideas by sharing it with a friend who might benefit from reading it. Thank you. Keep being awesome.